What's good, guys? I'm Jon the Chief, and for this video, it's gonna be my Vault 94 solo build, because Vault 94, the raid, is being released tomorrow. So this is how I am preparing for it, the gear that I'm gonna be bringing into the raid, because as soon as I get back from work tomorrow, I am gonna just go hard on this raid. I'm gonna just try and solo the hardest difficulty as soon as I can to put it up for you guys, because I think that will be one hell of a fun challenge, because they've been hyping up this raid and I am ready for it. So for this build, it's gonna be geared to be more towards the type of enemies that you'll be encountering most likely within Vault 94. Now, remember, Vault 94 is based in the mire and also is where the mire originated from. If you follow the lore, that is what started the mire, is because of the Gek explosion within Vault 94 that caused the mire to be formed. So, we can be expecting most likely a bunch of mire work type enemies, gulpers, anglers, fog crawlers, hermit crabs. Most likely we'll have a giant mirelurk queen as a boss at the end of some sorts. That is my hypothesis. So to gear towards that, first off, we are going to be running the armor Exterminator, because that will give us the most amount of protection against these enemies. Now, it's also going to be using Sentinel and Cavalier gear, so that way we get extra damage reduction, but the biggest part is the Exterminator armor. Anywhere that we cannot put Exterminator armor, we are going to be putting some Auto Stim or Life Saving gear, because Auto Stim just adds another layer of tankiness, because that just makes it so it automatically uses stim packs whenever you are below 25% health, which is actually really useful in certain situations when you combine that with Born Survivor, which also activates stim packs whenever you're below 40% health, so you have double the layer of protection when going into this. And also, we are going to be running life-saving gear, just because if you do go down in solo, I don't know how the respawning system will work, because it is going to be their debut for instanced servers, so that way whenever you go into Vault 94, no one else is there. We don't know how it's going to work with respawns, especially for solo. I don't know if you have to restart if you die by yourself. So in order to prepare myself for that, I'm running a life-saving gear, so if I do die, there's a 50% chance I'm coming back to life, which will be really useful. Since this is not going to be a bloodied build, we want to be at full health most of the time, since we don't want to risk dying in this raid. I'm going to be running anti-armor rifles. So we are going to be using an anti-armor explosive handmade, anti-armor explosive SMG. That's why I recommend using. If you do not have a very strong anti-armor rifle, I recommend actually using a Exterminator's rifle, because that extra 30% damage will be very useful. And if you don't have that, maybe instigating if it's handmade. It's dealer's choice when it comes down to that, but you will probably want to be using an anti-armor or exterminator rifle in this build. So for this build, this is going to be the spread that I am using. This is only going to be because this is what I normally have on my character. I don't want to move around all my special stats really in order to do this raid. Hopefully with this variation of my build, this should be able to work. So, for strength, we are going to be running blocker, but depending on how many chems I want to bring in and stim packs, I might be running traveling pharmacy instead. You can swap that out. It depends on how many tanky armors you bring in. I'm bringing in a ton of exterminator armor, so blocker might not be necessary. I could just probably be running traveling pharmacy. Perception. The commando perks, because I'm running only automatic rifles in this build, and these two perks are actually super important, which is Exterminator and Glow Sight. So 4 enemies in the mire when you're facing the highest level enemies that they have to provide. So that includes glowing anglers, glowing gulpers, the fog crawlers, and all variations of mireworks. Between these two, they counter all of them. Exterminator works on all mireworks, and also it works on fog crawlers. So because of that, you can just melt through their health bar because they have no armor against you. And then Glow Sight will help you deal with the glowing gulpers and then the glowing anglers. And also, a couple of the mirework enemies will be glowing too. So between these two, you counter most of the enemies that are probably going to be in the raid. Then for endurance, we are running fireproof, just so that way you can ignore some explosive damage depending on if you want to be a little bit ballsy and use a couple of nuka grenades to clear out some of the ads. I'm probably going to do that every now and then. It's nice to know that you'll always survive the bullets or the explosions. Then, for Charisma, we are going to be running Field Surgeon, Lone Wanderer, and Tenderizer. Tenderizer helps out with just melting some of the high HP enemies, such as the Mirework Queen, which we all know there's going to be a huge Mirework Queen enemy at the very end. This will probably help out a little bit with killing it. You only need 1 point in order to get that nice 5%. You don't need to put in all 3. And then for tanking, a couple more hits, Lone Wanderer for 20% less damage and also more AP regen, and then Field Surgeon so that way my stim packs work a lot better. For intelligence, we are going to be running First Aid so that way we get more health out of each of my stim packs that activates, and also Gunsmith so that way my explosive laser rifle actually lasts a little bit longer than normal. It breaks really fast. Also, I would be running Demo Expert, but if you guys watch my latest myth-busting video, you guys would know that there is no point in doing that for my explosive weapons. Anyways, next one is Agility, which we are going to be running Action Boy for faster AP regen, Born Survivor, because this plus First Aid plus Field Surgeon equals always staying alive. It is so good for tanking. And that's why I might be running Traveling Pharmacy instead, so that way I could just carry a lot more stim packs into the fight. Because between these 3, you're going to be going through so many stim packs, but luckily you'll always be alive. It is so good for survivability. And then through Hiker, just because I usually carry a lot of food and drinks on me, if I didn't carry so much on me where I would probably be over encumbered, and I can't put it all into my storage, I would probably be running Evasive, because Evasive gives you a nice 45 damage resistance and energy resistance when you have it at level 3, and also because of my mutations, it will probably be a pretty high amount of agility, so we could probably get the whole amount of damage resistances and energy resistances out of it. Then, lastly, for luck, let's go back to the main screen. It is going to be Bloody Mess because more damage, Class Freak to reduce the effects of our mutations, Critical Savvy because we are going to be using critical hits in order to get a lot of bonus damage onto the enemies, Serendipity because that is one of the best and most broken survivability perks in the game, and then Starched Genes so that way we can keep all our mutations. And this is going to be my build that I'm going to be using to try and solo Vault 94. I think this is a very solid build. The main pieces that you guys want to be covering is going to be the tanky parts from Field Surgeon, First Aid, Born Survivor, and Serendipity even though it's not a bloodied build. And then Glow Sight and Exterminator. These two are going to be so useful in the raid. It's ridiculous how much more damage you guys are going to be able to deal. With Exterminator, you don't even need to worry about where you're hitting the Mirework Queen. It is so good. And then, for the mutations, it's going to be your classic ones. Adrenal Reactions, Bird Bones, Carnivore, Eagle Eyes, Electrically Charged, Grounded, Healing Factor, Marsupial, Scaly Skin, and Speed Demon. Now, this is, if you guys haven't noticed, just a slight variation of my Bloodied Commando build. So if you're a high level and you're running my Bloodied Commando build, this is a very easy thing to swap to without even trying or having to spend too many perks. It's super easy, and all the perks are swappable, because you can just replace Tank Killer with Exterminator and Concentrated Fire with Glow Sight, and you are good to go for the most part. Now, that is the build that we are using. The gear, again, is going to be Exterminators, Life Saving, Auto Stim, and also the weapons are Exterminators and Anti-Armor. I think this is probably going to be the best setup possible to solo the raid. It gives you a little bit of everything, a bit of tankiness and survivability, some very, very consistent damage through all the anti-armor effects that you will be having on most of the enemies in the raid, and also the damage boost that will be coming from glow sights and exterminators. The perk is just going to be a very solid build for soloing the raid. Now, who knows? We don't know what's actually going to be in it so far. For all we know, I'm just going to get 180'd and they're just going to load it up with super mutants or feral ghouls, and I'm not going to be ready at all with that. But most likely, we are going to be encountering some Mirelurks, Gulpers, Anglers, Fog Crawlers, Hermit Crabs. Maybe they'll even debut some old enemies like the Lake Lurks, the Cazadors. I want to see a Gator Claw from Fallout 4's DLC. I think they have a lot of potential to add some new stuff within this raid. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you guys excited for the raid coming out tomorrow? Because I sure as hell am. Anyways, hope all of you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and have a good day.